Good afternoon, everyone. Let me welcome all of you to the Orange County first budget public hearing. Today's date is September the 4th, 2025. As we begin this evening, I'm going to go ahead and call us to order. I think that it will be appropriate for us to begin with, I'm going to ask you all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. At this time, I'm going to call on the County Administrator, Mr. Byron Brooks, for some opening comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay. The purpose of tonight's public hearings is to consider and adopt tentative millages and budgets for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2025 and ending September 30th, 2026. The items to be considered tonight include mandatory refuse collection special assessment, the non-ad valorem assessment roll, the flat rate assessments for street lighting, fire hydrants, street paving, retention pond maintenance, and other MSBUs, the countywide base millage, the municipal service taxing units for law enforcement, fire protection, and lake weed cleaning and navigation, and all other county budgets. The millages and budgets being considered for tentative adoption tonight are the end product of a 2-day work session with the Board of County Commissioners in July of this year. Public notice of tonight's hearings has been provided via notice of proposed property taxes mailed to each property owner, as well as legal advertisements for the mandatory refuse and non-ad valorem assessments. At this time, I will ask Mayor Demings to call to order the Orange County mandatory refuse public hearing.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brooks. At this time, I will call to order the mandatory refuse public hearing and call on Mr. David Gregory, the manager of the Solid Waste Division, to present remarks regarding the rate and collection service changes for calendar year 2026. David, you are recognized at this time.
Thank you. Chapter 32 of the Orange County Code requires that the Board of County Commissioners pass a resolution annually setting the mandatory garbage and recycling rate to the citizens and an annual rate of compensation to the haulers at the first budget hearing. In June, the board tentatively established a rate to the customers at $400, which is a $100 increase over this year, and the annual rate of compensation by zone based on the new hauler agreements, which will commence in January of this year. These rates are listed on the resolution as the annual rate of compensation on a per household basis paid to the hauler providing solid waste and recycling collection services. Please note that these rates are an increase from 2025 due to the new hauler agreements, which were competitively procured and approved by the board on November 19, 2024. And note that the new set of hauler agreements, we divided the county into 6 geographic zones instead of the 5 current zones, which have been used for many years. This decrease in households per zone should facilitate better service to the customers. So at this point, we request board approval of the resolution establishing the MSBU rate and the annual rate of compensation for the calendar year 2026.
All right, thank you, Mr. Gregory. Ms. Mello, are there any members of the public present who wish to be heard on the mandatory refuse rate and collections?
Mayor, there is no speakers for the mandatory refuse rate and collection public hearing.
All right, thank you. With that, is there a motion to adopt the mandatory refuse resolution, which includes a mandatory assessment rate of $400 per year?
So moved. Wilson.
Second, Uribe.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, second by Commissioner Uribe. Any further discussion? There being none, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes, and it is unanimous. Now I'll call on Mr. Gregory to present staff and hearing officer recommendations for exemptions. With that, you are recognized.
Each year, property owners are notified of the special assessment for mandatory garbage and recycling collection services. Orange County Code allows for property owners to appeal this assessment and allows for exemptions based on circumstances and changes to the property use. Typically, staff recommends exemptions for properties that clearly fall under these conditions for exemption and refers the rest to a hearing officer. This year's hearing officer is Ms. Chloe Berryman, a local attorney who is present tonight to answer any questions you may have. The mayor and each commissioner have been provided with a booklet listing the exemption and recommendations for calendar year 2026. Section 1 contains previously granted exemptions that have been reviewed by staff, have been determined to still meet the criteria, and are recommended for exemption again. Section 2 contains new staff requests for exemption that have been investigated by staff and are recommended for exemption, and there are no new staff requests. Section 3 contains appeals that are heard by the hearing officer who has determined that they meet the criteria for exemption and recommends approval. No appeals were heard this year. And Section 4 lists the appeals heard by the hearing officer who has determined that they do not meet the criteria for exemption and who recommends denial of the request, and no appeals were heard this year. Request board approval of the staff and hearing officer recommendations as listed in the booklet for exemption from the mandatory garbage and recycling assessment for calendar year 2026.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Mello, are there any members of the public present who wish to be heard on the mandatory refuse public hearing exemptions only?
Mayor, there is no speakers for this public hearing.
All right. With that, then we'll move forward. Is there a motion to accept staff and hearing officer recommendations concerning exemptions to the mandatory assessment?
So moved, Uribe.
Second, Wilson.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Uribe, second by Commissioner Wilson. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes, and it is unanimous. And now, with that action, we will adjourn the mandatory refuse public hearing and call to order the non-ad valorem assessment roll public hearing. And we're going to ask Mr. Kurt Peterson, the OMB Office of Management and Budget Director, to announce the non-ad valorem assessment and information. With that, Mr. Peterson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. Under the regulations for the uniform method of levy, collection, and enforcement of non-ad valorem assessments, the county must adopt, subject to a public hearing, an assessment roll for all assessments being levied for the first time. This public hearing will also consider the adoption of non-ad valorem assessment roll authorizing the tax collector to use the uniform method of collection of non-ad valorem assessments levied by the Orange County Board of County Commissioners as provided in Section 197.3632 of the Florida statutes. All affected property owners have been given the right to file written objections with the Orange County Board of County Commissioners, and at this public hearing have the right to appear to give testimony. Mayor?
All right, thank you, Ms. Mello. Are there any members of the public present who wish to be heard on the non-ad valorem assessment only?
Mayor, there's no speaker for this public hearing.
All right, thank you. With that, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt the non-ad valorem assessment roll as presented with the unit of measurement and the respective amounts of subdivision and/or parcel identification numbers as stated in the assessment roll.
Motion for approval.
Motion by Commissioner Gomez-Cordero, second by Commissioner Simrad. Any further discussion? All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes, and it is unanimous. All right. Now we'll close the non-ad valorem assessment roll public hearing, and we'll move forward on our agenda. I will now open the public hearing on the county's budget to include all millages and funds. And before I go further, let me just kind of set the stage for the county's budget. I'd like to address recent comments regarding Orange County's ad valorem collections that have increased over 5 years at an annual rate of about 9%. That is comparable to counties across the state. In fact, in 2024, Orange County's ad valorem percentage growth was lower than 48 other counties. But Orange County is also one of the fastest growing regions in the country. In spite of this, we have been able to maintain our countywide tax rate that currently is the 11th lowest in the state of Florida. We have not had to increase taxes due to the robust economic strength in our county and the growth in construction. It should be noted that a portion of that increase each year is the result of development like the building of new homes, businesses, and tourist attractions being added to our tax rolls. Yes, it adds new revenue, but it also requires us to add more services to maintain the level of quality of life that our citizens expect. Services like public safety, housing, homelessness, and transportation are some of those costs. Remember that growth is supposed to pay for itself. There are not many counties in Florida growing at a rate of Orange County, and we are the #1 tourist destination in North America. The 75.3 million visitors effectively doubles our weekly population and adds over 206,000 people daily that we have to provide services to. Public safety remains one of the county's highest priorities. In this proposed budget, more than $1.2 billion is allocated for public safety. This includes our Orange County Fire Rescue Department, the Sheriff's Office, and our Corrections Department, which is mostly funded by property taxes. With this year's proposed budget, the average increase to public safety since 2022 has been 9.8%, and total dollar increase of $445 million. This investment in public safety funds new positions and operational expenses. The reality of it is, it helps us to keep crime low. But we've also made infrastructure improvements, such as the construction of a sheriff substation, an evidence facility, and several new fire stations to ensure that emergency response times remain low. And this summer, we opened a $52 million state-of-the-art training facility to ensure our firefighters are ready for any emergency. In addition, Orange County continues its commitment to affordable housing. To date, nearly 3,000 affordable housing units have been created. For fiscal year 2026, the county has allocated $17.7 million to affordable housing in our trust fund. That is part of a long-term affordable housing commitment of $160 million over 10 years. With a $10 million increase in the 2025 budget to support homelessness services, we are now providing over $56 million annually to address homelessness, which we have been mandated by the state to address through the Homeless Reduction Plan of Action. Using these resources, we will continue to expand services, increase shelter capacity, meet new state requirements, and launch new initiatives to help with this ever-growing problem. Next week, one of our employees, Lisa Graham, who manages our homelessness strategy, will be providing an update to the Board of County Commission. In addition, regarding transportation, the Accelerated Transportation Safety Program successfully closed out its first year. We completed more than 60 projects, including more than 14 miles of new sidewalks an additional 14 miles of roadway lighting and safety enhancements across 21.4 miles of roadways. Also in 2025, Orange County had to start funding the operating and capital costs for Sunrail, which is approximately $15 million annually out of our general fund. For fiscal year 2026, nearly $24 million has been allocated to continue transportation safety and efficiency upgrades, which includes $6 million for expedited Lynx bus routes and $3 million for additional bus shelters. Improving transit is a mandate by our citizens. This funding is part of a larger 5-year investment of more than $100 million. So those are just a few of the highlights in the proposed fiscal year 2026 budget related to public safety, housing, homelessness, and transportation. With this proposed budget, there are many other services the county provides that benefit the community and our visitors. However, in order to be more efficient with our time today, I remind you that we had robust discussions during our budget work sessions about the full details and breadth of this budget. But for now, we're going to move forward. I'll call on Mr. Byron Brooks, the county administrator, for additional remarks. Mr. Brooks, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. The fiscal year 2025-2026 budget reflects a balanced budget as discussed at the budget work sessions in July, with any necessary changes including updated revenues and expenditure projections. Each commissioner has received the statement of changes package and was offered a briefing by staff. So, Mayor, with your permission, I'd like to call on Kurt Peterson, OMB Director, to announce the millage information.
All right, Mr. Peterson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. The following tentative millage rates are hereby established and fixed for the following purposes and entities. The associated percentages are the percentages by which the millage rate adopted herein is more or less than the rollback millage rate for each of the following purposes and entities. The countywide millage rollback rate is 4.2068. The proposed millage is 4.4347, a 5.42% increase over the rollback rate. The unincorporated tax district rollback rate is 1.7144. The proposed millage is 1.8043, a 5.24% increase over the rollback rate. The county fire and EMS rollback rate is 2.7020. The proposed millage is 2.8437, a 5.24% increase over the rollback rate. The OB2 corridor improvement rollback rate is 0.5696. The proposed millage is 0.5932, a 4.14% increase over the rollback rate. The OB2 neighborhoods improvement rollback rate is 0.2392. The proposed millage is 0.2554, a 6.77% increase over the rollback rate. The Orlando Central Park MSD rollback rate is 1.0423. The proposed millage is 1.1549, a 10.80% increase over the rollback rate. The iDrive Master Transit rollback rate is 0.2244. The proposed millage is 0.2334, a 4.01% increase over the rollback rate. The iDrive bus service rollback rate is 0.7192. The proposed millage is 0.7523, a 4.60% increase over the rollback rate. The North iDrive improvement rollback rate is 0.1548. The proposed millage is 0.1601, a 3.42% increase over the rollback rate. The Apopka Vineland improvement rollback rate is 0.5631. The proposed millage is 0.6, a 6.55% increase over the rollback rate. The Bass Lake rollback rate is 1.3247. The proposed millage is 1.1098, a 16.22% decrease over the rollback rate. The Big Sand Lake rollback rate is 0.1346. The proposed millage is 0.1378, a 2.38% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Holden rollback rate is 2.3586. The proposed millage is 2.5337, a 7.42% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Irma rollback rate is 0.5941. The proposed millage is 0.62, a 4.36% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Jean rollback rate is 0.0386. The proposed millage is 0.0205, a 46.89% decrease over the rollback rate. The Lake Jessamine rollback rate is 0.6277. The proposed millage is 0.6545, a 4.27% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Killarney rollback rate is 0.8025. The proposed millage is 0.8613, a 7.33% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Mary rollback rate is 2.8025. Proposed millage is 3.0, a 7.05% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Ola rollback rate is 1.9085. The proposed millage is 2.0, a 4.79% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Pickett rollback rate is 1.6970. The proposed millage is 1.7597, a 3.69% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Price rollback rate is 1.0128. The proposed millage is 1.0719, a 5.84% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Rose rollback rate is 0.7020. Proposed millage is 0.7594, a 8.18% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Sioux rollback rate is 1.2002. Proposed millage is 1.25, a 4.15% increase over the rollback rate. The Little Lake Fairview rollback rate is 0.4751. Proposed millage is 0.5, a 5.24% increase over the rollback rate. The South Lake Fairview rollback rate is 0.0160. The proposed millage is 0.0171, a 6.88% increase over the rollback rate. The Lake Conway Water Navigation rollback rate is 0.5423. The proposed millage is 0.5750, a 6.03% increase over the rollback rate. The Windermere Navigation rollback rate is 0.2381. Proposed millage is 0.2528, a 6.17% increase over the rollback rate. The aggregate millage rollback rate is 6.7730. The proposed millage is 6.9547, a 2.68% increase over the rollback rate. Mayor?
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Peterson. I'm glad you were the one having to read all of those numbers as opposed to me. But with that, at this time, I'm going to open the floor for any public comment. Ms. Mello, are there any members of the public present who wish to be heard on the millage and budget at this time?
Yes, Mayor, we have 9 speakers. I'm going to call the first 5, if you guys can stand by the speaker section there. The first 5 that I'm calling is Dr. Jim Moyer, Kathleen Fitzgerald, Eugene Stoccardo, Linda Coffin, and Carmen Whitney. And as you're approaching, if you can make sure that when you get to the speaker, podium, if you can say your name and address for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes to make your remarks.
Okay, and by the way, this is the only opportunity for the public to address the board regarding the millage and budget during this first public hearing for our budget. The second public hearing will come on September the 18th. With that, Dr. Moyer, you're recognized.
Good evening. My name's Dr. Jim Moyer. I live at 1811 Southern Red Oak Court, Coe, Florida. I'm elected Orange Soil and Water Conservation District 2 Supervisor. We have our meetings right here in this room, the second Friday of every month at 3:30. We're 80 years old, but a lot of people still don't know much about us. I have come here before, and I appreciate all the support that the county has agreed to in the in-kind, from an in-kind perspective. But we really need to, one way or another, get support for our 80th anniversary. So I'm hoping that whether it's directly, meaning financial support, or indirectly, which could include many different forms. It can be in kind, it can be referral to a person or organization that you think may be supportive of us. Any help whatsoever would be greatly appreciated because we desperately need it. For those who don't know, we're a governmental subdivision of this state of Florida. However, we are not funded whatsoever. Our only potential source of funding is by partnering, whether it's with federal, state, county, municipal government, or UF-IFAS, or the water management districts, or individuals, organizations, or individual donors. We have a lot going on right now. We're partnering with the school districts. And I arranged for a donation of soil from a partner called Life Soils to donate to the schools. And we're trying to get involved in the community and help. That's why I'm an elected volunteer to help. Thank you for your time, and God bless you all.
All right, thank you, Dr. Moyer, for your volunteer service. Next speaker, please.
I'm Kathleen Fitzgerald. I'm with Support Orlando Shelters. My address is 518 Oxford Court, Orlando 32803. Mayor Demings, I want to thank you for your opening remarks. You saved me part of what I wanted to say here today. But I specifically do want to advocate for the solutions that you've mentioned for dealing with our unhoused and homeless people in Orlando. I'd like to point out that travel and tourism is the lowest paying industry in the country, and that the workers who are fueling this industry are the ones working in our restaurants, bars, theme parks, hotels, and other service jobs. And these are the people who often struggle the most with basic necessities. And sometimes it's a life event, something that caused them to be evicted, that puts some of these very people that are our lifeblood out on the street. This is where I want my tax dollars going. I want to help these people. And specifically, I would like you to collaborate with the City of Orlando to see that the feasibility report for the Cayley Street Work Release Center is completed, and if possible, to prioritize the necessary renovations to turn it into a supportive housing facility. Prioritizing solutions for our most vulnerable residents is not only the humane thing to do, but it is also good for our tourism industry. So if people come here and they see people sleeping in the sidewalks and on doorways, that's not the city beautiful that we want them to see. I know that in 2024, Orange County generated, if I have my numbers right, $358 million in tourist development taxes. And I find it absolutely disgusting that we can't use that money to pay for these, you said 260,000 people a day is what it equates to. That's like the equivalent of more than 30% of our population. So on any given day, these tourists are using 30% of our infrastructure. I'm glad that the county's going to pick up what our tourist development tax dollars can't be used for. Thank you.
Thank you. It is approximately 206,000.
Well,
David.
it's interesting. I had done math, and I had come up with 205,000.
Yes.
And I thought, well, if you say 260, it's 260. But it did come out to be about 30%
Yes.
compared to our 1.5 million people in the county.
So thank you. Thank you for
Okay.
the work that you all are doing with Support Orlando Shelters.
We're there with you.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. All right. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Linda Coffin. I am from zip code 32810, District 2. When we talk about county budget, we are not just talking about numbers on a page. We're talking about our values, what we choose to invest in, and who we choose to prioritize. Access to healthy food, fully resourced schools, and providing safe and affordable housing. These are not luxuries. They are the foundations of a thriving community. Right now, too much of our tax money is being forced toward ICE detentions and possible costly ICE transport programs that don't strengthen our communities. Those funds could and should be reallocated to meet the basic needs of the people who live and work here. Every dollar we spend reflects a choice, yet the state is muscling us to continue pouring millions into detention facilities that separate families and destabilize communities, when we want to invest in programs that lift people up, reduce long-term costs, and create safer neighborhoods for everyone, like our firefighters that are here. We know that by redistricting resources toward housing assistance, food security programs, and education, we are not addressing immediate needs. We are investing in a long-term stability, workforce readiness, and healthier future. That is smarter, more humane, and more fiscally responsible path forward. Budgets are moral documents. Ours should reflect Orange County's compassion, equity, and common sense. Let's ensure our county's resources are used to build stronger communities, not to fund detention and deportation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Good evening, Eugene Staccato, 331 Roswell Avenue. Tonight's going to be talking about TDT. Today, TDT should support maintenance of all the facilities. Its funding up to present is not happening, but it's coming out of our general revenue. So I think we should address this when we approach the legislature. It supports the tourist industry today, but it should also support us, the residents. The county must approach the legislature to modify the TDT law to allow our county to utilize the revenue to create transit system supporting the tourists along with our residents throughout the county. And I'll put a different hat on right now. The second hat is I'm going to talk as a D5 representative from Parks and Recreation and Green Place. I just want to thank the BCC for the continuing support of both those organizations. I'm very proud of those organizations. I do talk highly about it as I travel around the country. It's something that we in local government, you being the elected officials, fund with our local money to create a park and recreation and a green place, which is outstanding in the state. And I hope that we can continue with this in the future with the assaults that are happening around us. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Staccato. We'll move to the next speaker.
Hi, my name is Carmen Mata Whitney. My address is 1747 Hourglass Drive, Orlando, Florida, 32806. I have a question because I have received that, and I was here when it was approved for the Lake Hourglass and special assessment of 585.32, and it was passed. But when I received my proposed taxes, I have the 585.32 plus $400 for SCC Environmental Services. So my question is, when was that approved? And will that be just this year or every year? because it almost doubled what was
We'll
approved.
have a staff member, you can continue to speak if you have other
that's it.
words. But we'll have a staff member talk to you and look at your individual bills, so
Okay,
the appropriate person can do that.
thank you.
Okay. All right, next speaker, please.
The next four speakers are Rini McHarg, Eric Gomez, Jennifer Hall, and Frank Vassell. And again, if you can say your name and address for the record, and you have 2 minutes to speak.
Hello. Thank you, Mayor and Commissioners, for this opportunity to speak to you. My topic today is homelessness.
Excuse me, can you say your name and your address for the record, please?
Sure, Renee McHarg, Orlando, Florida, 32828. Homelessness, let's define it. A problem that goes beyond ruthlessness and a lack of access to safe shelter. Economic hardship and a lack of affordable housing are two leading causes of homelessness. I fall into both categories, the loss of my Section 8 housing and the lack of affordable housing. The people that are homeless, such as myself, they not only have a face within our communities, but they also have a story to tell. I would really appreciate that those of us who sit up here before us, those of us who are in dire need of a home, would just take a moment of consideration of people who don't have a place to call a home of their own. This is a crisis within our communities, but also a national crisis. We just can't sit in beautiful homes, those that have them, and ride by in our fancy cars, those that drive them, and see people sleeping on the streets and think they're the worst people in our communities, without trying to figure out why they are in the situations they are in. We need to have compassion upon people who are homeless. We need to strategize with other nonprofit organizations or churches. Then we need to put our money where our mouth is. Sorry. So, to help the less fortunate with our communities, we don't need to have the police be picking them up and putting them locked away in a jail cell because of their current situations. I'm personally going through a family situation where my son was in a horrific accident on August 9th as a passenger in a car and now has a spinal cord injury at the age of 23 years old. And because I cannot provide him a handicap-accessible home, now or any type of home, he will be placed with a family member who will be doing his best to seek the medical care that he is going to need for a lifetime. That as a mother, I should be able to do for him. But I cannot provide for my son a safe space environment for him to come live with me because I can't even find one for myself. So I implore you to look at the homeless situation with our community as if it was one of your family members that were struck down to be homeless. What would you do? What would you offer assistance to any family member? Because I said, as this before, this is a national crisis. We're all on one paycheck
All right, thank
away.
you, Ms. Machard. You know you ran out of time, right?
All right,
Okay.
thank you.
But, Ms. Machard, let me ask you a question.
Yes,
Did you
sir.
say you're currently homeless?
What was that?
Did you say you're currently homeless?
My son is going to be taken care of by a family member, but I am within that situation of
So
homelessness.
maybe if we have someone from Community and Family Services, maybe you all can talk to her and see if there's any way that we can assist her. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
All right.
Mayor.
All right, next speaker, please.
Morning, Mayor. Afternoon.
Afternoon.
evening. And Commissioners, how are you? My name is Erika Gomez Tejeda. Live in District 4, and I'm here representing the Hope Community Center in District 2, 800 South Hawthorne Boulevard. Hope Community Center services almost 20,000 community members a year, both servicing them for educational purposes, youth services, from children from elementary school all the way through college, as well as everyday living servicing, food pantry, social services, and the such. As you're well aware, particularly in the last year, due to tariffs and other social issues that have impacted our communities from across the county and across the country, working people are facing more dire need than ever before. We have families who continue to be separated. where the head of household is being detained without the ability to have an attorney represent them. As you know, with the IGSA, we're continuing as a county to lose money detaining folks who don't have any type of criminal history. And by the time due process, if ever, kicks in, the family has already been separated, devastated, et cetera. This is having a major impact on local communities, and I think what was said earlier today is that the budget does reflect what our priorities are. We need money for food. People need money for legal services. We have families in transition who need attorneys that help them with their visas. Some attorneys are starting between $5,000 and $10,000. We have U.S. citizenship courses that are being cut. So we're really asking you to continue to stand and to invest in the working families that are the backbone of our economy and our communities.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Hodder. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Hall, and my zip code is 32828. I am in District 4. Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP. School lunches, teacher salaries, social workers to address the mental health crises in the community, hurricane preparedness supplies, potholes, community celebrations, youth sports programs, park and playground upgrades, increased access to public transportation, or increase to food pantry supplies and other resources needed within the community. All of these are things I have benefited from as an Orange County resident, and all are better use of the $2.3 million the county will have spent housing federal immigration detainees. Now, that is money that will not be reimbursed. $2.3 million taxpayer dollars. Now, that may not be a lot to you, but to me, a disabled, single mom, barely surviving, it seems unconscionable to spend $2.3 million to let a wannabe dictator that occupies the governor's mansion further an agenda of hate, usurp your power as elected officials, and misuse mine and my neighbors' funds. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Just one thing, in terms of the reimbursement, we will get reimbursement.
It will be $91 per day that you will not have reimbursed.
We are negotiating that, so I just want to make sure the public has facts. All right, next speaker, please.
Good evening, Fran Vassell, 1438 Renee Avenue, Orlando, Florida, 32825. Thank you, Mayor, for explaining that noting that the budget, the sources of the tourism and construction has helped the budget. However, when it comes to the rest of the budget, property taxes is one of the key elements for funding the budget. But properties, primary residences in which we live, make no revenue in order to pay taxes. The people who live in them pay taxes. And if we don't have wages to pay taxes, then we have trouble. I would encourage you to consider limiting those expenses to what is directly related to our properties. Storm and water drainage, the EMS, fire department, to charge us for those items that are indirectly related to our property, like the school, the sheriff's department should come from sales tax. But those taxes would have to be paid from people who have work, who have jobs, and can earn wages. For-profit businesses is not a reliable source to take care of wages, because you see what's happening. People in businesses are removing labor and replacing them with AI and all this. So the central bank is a key source to begin to pick up, to pay wages where people work, and the central bank can quantify the value of those wages and pay those wages, so we'll have money to pay taxes. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vassar. Do we have any other speakers?
No, Mayor.
Okay. All right. With that, then we'll close the public comment period of this public hearing. And with that, just as a reminder, this will be the only opportunity that the public will have to address the board on millage and the budget. With that, I call for a motion to adopt the millage resolution.
So moved, Wilson.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Wilson,
Second.
second by Commissioner Simrad. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes, and it is unanimous. Thank you all very much. And with that, I'm going to call on Mr. Kurt Peterson, our OMB Director, to announce the budget information. Mr. Peterson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mayor. The proposed budget for fiscal year 25-26 is $8,318,172,170, a 2.6% decrease from the current fiscal year modified budget.
All right, with that, I ask for a motion for approval of the resolution.
So moved, Uribe. Second, Wilson.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Uribe, second by Commissioner Wilson. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes, and it is unanimous. And as we come to the end of this public hearing, as a reminder, the second and final public hearing on the county's budget is scheduled for Thursday, September the 18th, 2025, at 5:01 p.m. With that, this meeting stands adjourned.